Applications. The main reason that we want to study mathematics is to be able to use it, and that does often mean problems that start with words. Now, there is not a spot for this on your toolkit paper, so I recommend putting this on the back where you have some space. Here are the steps we're going to follow whenever you have a word problem. First off, define a variable, write an inequality, solve it, and then give the solution in context, meaning in words again. So take a moment, read through this, do a little pause, unpause when you're ready to move on. Let's take a look at what we have. I want to make sure first we understand all the words. So patrons and people, it's the same thing. A patron is someone who visits a museum. Kind of like a customer is a person who uses a service. A patron is a person who goes to take part in a museum. The museum wants to give tours to 600 patrons at least. So more than 600 patrons is okay. And each tour takes 20 people. They've already toured 140. Okay. So let's start at step one. Define a variable. The variable should be what it is you are trying to find. So for us, how many more tours? That's what we're trying to find. So define our variable. I'm just going to use the letter x. Let x equal the number, that's the symbol for number, of tours. There we go. Next up, we need to now write an inequality. Now, I know it's going to be an inequality because of the words that are used here. It's not that we want to give a tour to exactly 600 people. It's at least 600 people. That means 600 or more. So not an equal sign, an inequality sign. So let's see here as we set things up, how should it look? We've already given tours to 140 people. We're going to add to that 20 people per tour. So if there's one tour, that's 20 people. Two tours is 2 times 20, so 40 people. 3 tours is 3 times 20, so 60 people. So in general, I'm taking the number of tours times 20. That gets added to the 140. And I want this to be at least 600. So more than 600 is okay, or equal to 600 is okay. That's one of the trickiest parts, right? Finding out which inequality symbol you should use. We'll take a look at how to make that choice here on our next page. But for right now, at least means more or equal is okay. Once you have written your inequality, solve it, and then give the solution in context. So to solve, I'm just going to do a quick check for myself. So 600 minus the 140 is 460. So 20x is greater than or equal to 460 divided by the 20. And what we will then have is our x now divided by a positive number, so the inequality stays in the same direction. And 460 divided by 20 is 23. So we wrote the inequality. We solved the inequality. But here's the thing. For a person who understands the problem, I can't just go say x is greater than or equal to 23. We've got to give the solution in words so that people understand what we're saying. So here we go. I'm going to give my solution over here in context. The museum must give. Now, there are several ways that you could say this. You could say at least 23 more tours, because that would mean 23 tours is okay or more. You could also say it this way. Must give 23 or more. I'm going to put or more additional tours. That's another way to say the same thing. So you have some choices. Just make sure that you are explaining that 23 is okay or any number higher than 23 is okay. So there's our solution in context. It refers to the tours and the museum. It's written in words. People reading this can understand what we're saying, so we are in good shape. So let's take care of a recap. When you're given a situation with words, start by seeing what it is you're trying to find. Define that as your variable. Use that variable along with the information from the problem to write an inequality. Then solve it using the steps that we practiced in earlier parts of the lessons. And when you're finished, put the solution back into words. Now in this one, we saw the words at least and used the inequality symbol greater than or equal to. How do you know which symbol you should be using? It takes a little practice, but most of the time you can reason it out. Here's just a little guide. So if it straight up says less than, fewer than, below, under, those are indications that you want to use a less than symbol. When you see greater than, more than, above, over, that's typically a greater than symbol. Now for these other two, at most and no more than. So at most means I can go up to this level, but no higher. So here or below is okay. That's less than equal. No more than means I can go up to this level, but no higher. So below is okay. That's less than equal. Not over. So you can go up to this level, but not above it. That means below is okay. Those are all less than equal. Similarly over here, at least. That means the lowest you can go. So above is okay, or to that floor. No less than. So down to here, but not below. Above is okay. Not under, same reasoning. Those are all greater than equal to scenarios. So think it through. If you want to, again, put this on the back of your toolkit, not a bad idea, so that you have that as a reference. I want to finish up here with just another example. This is going to be an example that involves the variable on both sides of the inequality. So take a moment, pause, read through the problem. Right, here's what we're after. The question asks us, how many weeks? That's what we're trying to find. So I'm going to let my variable be the number of weeks. There it is. Next up, I want to step back here. We're going to look for a moment at the big picture. What we have are these two brothers saving money. I've got John's money, and I've got Matt's money. What are we trying to find? How many weeks will it be until Matt has more money? So if Matt has more money, that means I want his to be the larger one. I want John's to be the smaller one. So John's money needs to end up being less than Matt's money. Now, and when you're picking your inequality, make sure that you don't just look at the word. Make sure you think about the order of things. If I'm putting John's money on the left, and if Matt's is supposed to be the bigger one, I need to make sure the inequality opens to Matt's side. All right, with that out of the way, let's now put some more details in here. So how much money does John have? Well, he's already saved that $15. He's going to be adding on to that $3 each week. So $3 times the number of weeks, that's his additional money. Add that to his 15, that's his total savings. Now, Matt doesn't have any money right now, but he is going to save $5 for each week. So $5 times the number of weeks. When you have an inequality like this, where you've got variables in two different places, the first thing you should do is get the variables in just one place. So I want to put my x's together. You've got choices. I'm going to do this. I'm going to subtract the 3x over here to the other side. Now 3x minus 3x, that goes to 0. So all that's left on this side of the inequality is the 15. And over here, 5x's minus 3x's, well, that's 2x's. To finish, let's divide. Then 15 divided by 2, that's 7.5. Decimals happen sometimes. That is not a problem. Now, here we go. We're typically used to seeing the variable on the left-hand side, right? So let's bear in mind what this means. 7.5 is less than the number of weeks. Just to make it easier to follow, I'm going to change where the x is. We're just accustomed to seeing the x on the left-hand side. So I'm going to switch and put the x on the left. I'm going to put the 7.5 on the right. But I need to make sure that the 7.5 was the smaller one. The 7.5 needs to stay the smaller one. So I'm allowed to do this. I can switch where the x and the 7.5 are, as long as I also change the direction of the inequality. So x was bigger because it's opening to the x. X is still bigger, it's opening to the x. These two statements say the same thing. This one, though, is just a little bit easier to interpret. X has to be more than 7.5. So there's a couple of ways that you could say this. I'm going to give you one solution here. How many weeks until Matt has more money than John? Matt will have more money than John. I should say more money saved than John after more than 7.5 weeks. So it's an inequality, right? I'm describing when Matt's money is above John's. Well, that's going to take a number of weeks that is above 7.5. Realistically, probably we're talking about whole number weeks. So in this case, it would probably also be appropriate to say Matt will have more money saved than John after 8 weeks. Since at 7 weeks, that's not big enough yet. John's money will still be higher. But then we don't really put in money at the half week. You probably wait until the end. So it would be okay to say, also, Matt will have more money saved than John after 8 weeks or more. There you go. Several different ways to interpret that same thing. All that matters is when you're finished, make sure that a person reading your solution can interpret and understand what it is you're trying to say.